In the last video, I shared with you how I explain play to my children. I whet their palates with the possibilities of the good life, of how we can live when they are being courteous and civilized to each other. This video, I wanted to explain to you a little bit of how I explain play to myself. I use it as a reminder that it is their job to play. And included in that is the understanding that it's also their job to push their boundaries. It's my job to keep those boundaries steady and age appropriate as they grow. And as my father has said, parenthood is a practice in the art of making a graceful retreat. I believe that it is vitally important to emphasize to the children that I do, in fact, want them to play. And part of that is because one of my weaknesses is to work myself. I know exactly how to burn the candle at both ends. And I do not want to pass that fanaticism onto my children. I want to allow them to play, and I want them to feel like it is okay to play. But with that, my work ethic that I insist on is that they get this much work done first. Do this much work, and you can play the rest of the day. And that's kind of how we've found a healthy balance, because I worked myself hard as a child, and I didn't allow myself to play, and I probably damaged myself a bit doing that. And so I don't want to pass that self-abuse down to the next generation. So teaching them the healthy balance, I think, is better. So including this as their third job was essential for me, to remind me that children learn through play. My husband loves stories, and he is interested in many fictional universes. And he and the children run campaigns and experience many different situations and stories through the use of different kinds of toys. I mean, they play together. And he loves to play with them. And I love to watch them play together. But I don't really participate in it myself because it's not in me to do that. Like I said, I was all work and no play, you guys. And so I get uncomfortable if I'm the one doing it. I get mighty uncomfortable. My children have learned a variety of subjects from doing this. It was amazing to watch. It was almost something that one of the reasons I married him is that he was fantastically competent in his chosen field, and he still managed to entertain himself on a daily basis, and that was not a skill that I had developed. I had worked myself so hard, I'd self-abused myself to the point of being a miserable person. But he was able to have a really good life, So starting with their initial vocabulary, they've also been exposed to different leadership roles and a variety of complex moral dilemmas in their different stories and games and campaigns that they play through. I don't want you to feel like you have to do that. I don't do it, but it was something that he loved and he enjoys, and it was something he could share with them, and they love and they enjoy it, and they learned so much just from that time together. I would encourage you to find something that you enjoy sharing with them. For example, my husband has his toys and their games that they play, and I love reading to my children. And that's something that I did get, and I kind of inherited, because my father would read out loud constantly to my mother. And so that was a joy I remember from my childhood, just hearing stories out loud, the audiobooks, but not just audiobooks, just the act of reading out loud is something that I enjoy doing for my children. And so story time is one of my favorite times of the day. Again, don't feel like that's something you have to do. But I do encourage you to pinpoint something you find worthwhile and rewarding to do with your children. It might be different for everyone, but it does require some level of self-reflection and pinpointing what you love to do, right? They don't have to love it, but there will undoubtedly be opportunities for you to share your loves and hobbies with them. Just take advantage of their curiosity. And for example, if you're into electronics, get an electronics kit. Maybe you're the one that puts it together the first time, and just their curiosity of what you're doing. What is it? What is that? How does that work? And you can just start sharing your knowledge. It could be, they might be interested enough to want to turn. They can put it together next, or they can put together the second project in the kit, and it could be anything. It could be gardening, cooking, plumbing, woodcrafting, knitting, crocheting. What piqued your fancy might not pique theirs, but it's a good place to start, especially if it's a time you can enjoy together. Otherwise, seek out into the community for competent teachers. And that's reflecting a little bit on a previous video, but I think it's important. It needs to be thought about. Their obedience to our instruction, or in other words, their imitation of our behaviors, is their first pattern for learning a strange new world. Love is the natural response for this initial instruction, which is free-flowing at a young age. But I must remind myself that children learn through play. That process of learning through play naturally transforms into testing their boundaries. Now, this fundamental nature is within us all, especially as children. This necessary part of our development is natural and should be expected. It is often surprising to us, especially as new parents, to witness our young child, who is so easy, impressionable, and docile when they first begin to talk back, question our decisions, and doubt our resolve. This is where my term play becomes unfortunate, because it doesn't feel like playing anymore. Oh, you want to play? Wait a second. I want to be very clear that when a child tests you in this way, I do not think it is useful to think of it as the child playing or toying with you. I don't think that's a healthy way to look at it. This process already takes so many of us by surprise and can often feel insulting as well. We have just spent years nourishing and caring for this small entity only for them to insult and reject us. Like, what? And that can be infuriating after all the unseen sacrifices you may perceive that you've made for them to have this opportunity to live, right? But I find it very useful to name this process, say it out loud, and expect it. Even with all this preparation, you may still be surprised once this phase of development begins. But I'm hoping that with this forewarning, you may recognize these patterns and adjust your responses instead of being infuriated by this feeling of apparent rejection. You can have a knowledgeable response and be at peace with the natural development of your child. Yes, my child, your progress continues to develop. All things proceed as planned, right? That is the confident, calm, and prepared response I would wish for you, so you aren't blindsided by it. It may still catch you by surprise. The next question is, once we discover the inevitable testing of the boundaries, what should we do about it? I've found in my experience that when a child is testing you or their boundaries, they have become bored or familiar with their current environment and are seeking out new experiences and learning opportunities. Or in other words, it is a signal to you that your child is ready to grow up a little. If you don't give them something new to study or experience, they will seek out new experiences on their own. I will provide you with a few generic examples. Number 1, the playpen escape artist. The playpen escape artist has had enough with the toys and this place. They are looking for new toys and new experiences. The toddler learning to walk is looking for new places to go. The young child could explore physical outlets. You could give, for example, a small child a physical occupation. Like sign them up for dancing or music or art or sports. You don't know what they'll take to, so try a smattering of things. And some skills might not be enjoyable until you get good at them. But spend enough time doing anything and you'll eventually get very good at it. Provide them with new chores. That's a new experience. As they become age appropriate, pick something new for them to learn how to do it. Like setting the table. My mother tells me the story of how By the time I was born, all of their wedding presents that they had received from friends and family had shattered to dust, but except for one, and I was the child that took out that last piece of crystal or whatever it was that they had gotten. It was some dish that they had up on some place up high, and I guess I was little and I saw something sparkly and wanted to look at it, a better look at it. Ooh, what's that? And so I went exploring, and I apparently smashed it to bits, but by accident. I think it fell off. Anyway, so if your dishes are the kind of dishes that you would be heartbroken if it broke, I have very expensive tastes, but as my children are through that stage, I want them to learn how to handle fragile items. So I've come to the understanding that we only have dishes that I feel comfortable with my children handling. So I don't buy expensive dishes right now. They're learning how to handle fragile items. So we get ceramic and we get glass and we get those things. And I think it's good for them to learn to practice being careful so they don't like throw their plates and use them like frisbees because they're made of plastic. Or I don't really approve of frisbees in the house either. So I have issues with that. All work, no play, remember? Right? Anyway. When your child turns 8, or whenever you think they're ready, have them pick dinner once a week. And then it becomes their job to help you make the meal. So they get to pick the, meal planning becomes a perk of learning how to cook. Learning how to cook comes with the perk of choosing what's for dinner. Yeah? And so that gives you the opportunity to also give them meal planning advice. Like, this is how you plan a meal. You want some vegetables, you want some protein, you want some, and you can choose any kind of protein you care for. Teaching a child how to cook can be its own challenge. But invest in them now, and they will eventually develop the skill to be useful to the home. It's not just... It does take 3 times as long to do something when you're teaching a child how to do something. It takes 3 times as long. But the next time you make it, it takes twice as long. And then the next time you make it, it only takes the normal amount of time. And then the next time you make it, they can make it on their own. And it's an investment of time and effort and care, but it does return value because all of a sudden this child has a skill that they have a life skill. It's not just useful to you in the home now, but it's useful to them for the rest of their lives. Any younger than 8, and they should already know how to set the table. That's really like when they turn 4 and they're not in the high chair anymore. Once they grow out of the high chair, that's when they start learning how to clear off the table and set it. That's how I run things. And then between the ages of 4 and 8, they're learning also how to scrape off their plates and maybe rinse off a dish or 2 and put it in the dishwasher. Now, this is where we get to the age of about a teenager. I don't have a teenager yet, so this is just from what I've seen watching all of my siblings grow up, and I am the 5th of 6. So I have had the benefit of watching several people grow up, and they all have their own unique problems and gifts and challenges, and they all have their own unique gifts and challenges. And so that was very insightful and useful for me because I was observant as a child. I didn't speak much, but I just was in absorption mode, and I was just absorbing everything that I could, right? So a teenager is resenting rules that feel stifling. They're honestly just expressing the desire to be given more of what you would consider adult responsibilities. Maybe they're ready to start a part-time job or learn a new skill that would benefit them in the future, like learning to drive. Or maybe they could start buying their own clothes, planning dinner meals, as discussed earlier. The possibilities are only limited by your imagination. You and your closest parenting advisor could sit together and brainstorm what you think would be the next step for helping your teenager towards being a functional part of the family and eventually society. In summation, children test their boundaries looking for new experiences, stay on the front end of it by guiding them to new experiences. Parental control is maintained until their self control is established.